Good morning, students. Finally, Institute late night yesterday, they came up with this announcement, rather FAQ, to address various queries which are raised by the student. Now, what we have done is, one is we have summarized the gist of the notification, gist of the FAQ. What we had a lot of questions like what happens if we opt out, what happens if we do not opt out, what happens when we start writing the examination and then suddenly the candidates get ill or the candidates are not good or not well. If suddenly everyone is put into quarantine in a particular center, what happens? So largely whatever institute has clarified, number one is that students have two choices. If they want to write, they can choose to write. If they do not want to write, that is the first case, what we talk about, you can directly opt out. So there is no doubt in this. But then there are many other things like what happens if we wanted to write, we did not opt out earlier, but then lockdown has been imposed. For example, in Chennai recently, a lockdown has been imposed. Now in that case, what will happen? So for such case, again, institute said automatically they can move to November by opting out, but then this would be a manual process. You have to give supporting documents and you have to, provide reasons, and then you will be taken to the November attempt. So automatically your opt-out would happen. Now, one important thing to understand whenever we are talking about these cases where opt-out would be happening, like the residence area comes into a containment zone, or the exam center falls into a containment zone, or the candidate himself or herself, they are not well. Maybe not because of corona. We pray that none of the students suffer through this disease, but we can't say. Not just because of corona, but maybe because of other health reasons. Let's say the candidate has fever. Now, if the candidate has fever, the candidate will not be allowed in the examination center. Now, in that case, the institute has said that they will be, allowed to choose opt-out option at a later date for, getting a certificate from a medical practitioner, and then exemption fees, everything would be shifted to the November attempt. So this is the gist. So first thing is, if you don't want to write, there is no point in, discussing what all happens after that. But assume you don't want to opt out now, and at a later date, there is a lockdown, or the residence comes into a containment zone, or the examination center comes into a containment zone. If anything of any of these happens, you have the option to opt out at a later date, right? So this is one thing. What is the gist of the notification? And whenever these situations happen, if it is now, or if let's say in the first week of July, or let's just before the examination, during the examination, whatever happens, or whenever such thing happens, the candidate will have an option to opt out at a later date. Now, what does this mean to the students? That is more important for discussion now. For students, if you were in two minds, whether to write, whether to not write, or whether to opt out now or wait and see the situation and then choose for opt out. For those of you who were in this kind of dilemmas that, I want to write, I don't want to opt out now, but then at a later date, I do not know what will happen in my area. If things go bad, my parents may not allow. So for a lot of these students, this is a kind of a relief, I should say, but then still there is a lot of confusion amongst the students as to what happens if, let's say, the entire class is put into a quarantine. Such things have not yet been addressed, right? They have given out a lot of details regarding how social distancing would be maintained, how the places would be sanitized, how wearing of masks would be mandatory. All of that is there, but still there is good amount of concern and regarding health among students and parents. So for those of you who want to take a chance that, let's see, maybe in a month's time things might be better, or things may be reasonably good in the area where you stay, for those students this has come as a relief, and you can actually choose not to opt out. For a lot of you who were very sure that no, I don't want to write, like first, a lot of students have written to us from Mumbai and Pune, where they're saying that the cases are really high and they actually don't want to go out, the public transportation is not available. For those of you, I think it is a good decision now to opt out and prepare for the next examination, which the institute has put out as happening in December first week. Again, that date depends on when the July examination will be conducted. So this is the summary of the notification. Now what I'll do is I'll take you through some of the important FAQs what they have put out regarding number of attempts, what happens to the final students, and what happens if a student doesn't carry a mask. A lot of these things, I'll just take you through those so that it is clear as to how do we take it further. So this is the notification. I hope my screen is visible. Okay. So first thing is about precautions. I don't want to spend time there. Procedure also, it's common now. I think a lot of places, the shopping malls, the shopping complexes, and all those things they have already implemented this. So that is not, that's not of a concern much here. Now, what will happen if any student has fever? Now, if it's very important, if a student has fever, they say they will not be allowed if fever is detected through thermal scanning. So that is most likely happening. But then they also put a condition saying that if you bring a certificate from a medical practice or from a doctor that fever is not on account of COVID, he will be permitted. Now, this is something which I also find quite illogical, because whether to, first thing, testing of COVID is dependent on government guidelines. Second, a doctor will not be able to issue this certificate unless the test results have come, and test results will take easily 3 to 4 days. So getting certificate from a medical practitioner that fever is not on account of COVID is very illogical step or illogical statement, I would say, because you write paper 1, in paper 3 you get fever. Who will give you a certificate that you have fever for some other reason? So that is one thing which sounds illogical. So basically, if you have fever, maybe you get a certificate from the medical practitioner saying that you have fever, and because of so and so reasons, you will not be able to write the exams, and put a request to the institute for opting out and then taking your attempt to November. Then face mask is important. They said ICAI will make arrangements for mask on need basis, but my suggestion to students who are planning to write, please take your own mask. Please take disposable masks, right? It's available at 10 or 12 rupees per mask. Life is more important. If at all you're planning to write, carry your own mask. Don't depend on ICAI or other facilities who will be providing you the mask. So that is one. Then sanitation is fine. Will examination take necessary precautions? That's okay. Then a lot of students had this doubt that if I have not opted out from the May attempt, will I be allowed to write the November attempt? Or if I have only applied for group 1 in this, can I write both the groups in November, especially for IPC old syllabus students? Now here, this is a good clarification that it is available for all. So all the students, whether you have filled up the examination form, whether you have not filled up the examination form, whether you will write, whether you will not write, everyone has got an additional attempt for IPC old syllabus. So in November 20, you can write one more time. So November 20 cycle, I would call it. And that cycle would begin, or the examination would begin from December 1st week, right? So that is one thing. Then there is also confusion amongst final students, because November was the last attempt. Will it be extended? Now here again, there is a confusing answer. First, they say that for students who have opted out, they will automatically give an extension. For students who are not opting out, they will send a recommendation. Now, I somehow find these kind of small technical issues not being addressed at ICAI level. They should have actually, like what they have done for IPC, they could have come up with a clear clarification that yes, everyone will be moved, or they will have one more opportunity to write the examination in May 21. So that is one thing. Examination will be held in first week of December, as I told you sometimes, right? Then these things we discussed. If residents of the students come under a containment zone, or city comes under a containment zone or lockdown, what happens? Then what will happen if a student gives 3 papers, but on the day of 4th paper, he comes into a containment zone? Now, in such a case, the examination will be moved, the candidate will be moved, and he will have to write all the papers. There is no partial exemption. There is no partial carry forward. If you are moving, or if you are opting out, even after writing 3 papers, maybe you have scored 60 plus in each of the papers, but still you will have to write all the papers when it comes to November. So that is one important thing you have to keep in mind. Slightly harsh, but I think that is how they have designed this. Then if you at least complete one group, and for the second group you want to move to the other next cycle because of the containment zone related thing, then one full group will be taken as a valid attempt, and only for second group you have to write the examination. Then if a student is found COVID-19, obviously they will not be allowed. And then if at all there is lockdown kind of, or there is a seal kind of a situation, or if it is declared a containment zone, and then the institute will try to shift to another examination center and then or cancel the examination. Again, shifting of examination center after the exams have begun, I don't think would be the right approach for the students. A lot of difficulties that the students would be facing. So if at all a situation comes where examination center is in a containment zone at a later date, it would be better if the institute cancels the center's examination altogether, right? Another important thing, if you do not opt out now, you cannot opt out later unless some specific conditions like containment zones or residents falling in containment zones that is satisfied. Then if you opt out now, can you opt in again? That is not allowed. Okay. Then 18th question again is slightly confusing. This question says, if any student chooses to opt out and later on the institute postpones the examination. Now, if you have opted out and institute postpones, then still it should be opted out only. I think institute wanted to write here if they cancel the examination. So that we need clarity on this. You can change your examination city or center only during the correction window, that is June 20th of 2020. So if at all you want to change the center and take a chance, you have to do it in the next 2 days, right? Then for opt-out, they have given the declaration. I'll just show you the declaration as well. It's a simple declaration. Basically, they want to say that you have decided to opt out on your own. You are withdrawing your application, and then it will be carried forward, right? Anything which is valid for May 20 exemption will be valid for the November 20 examination. This is the gist. This is available on ICAI exam.icai.org, the declaration form, as well as the option to change the center or to opt out. Now you can do one of the two things, opt out. If you don't want to opt out, you can change the examination center. That is the summary of FAQ in simple terms. Now, specific answers to some questions from some of the students, that specific answers. One question was on ICAI exam. So one question is the form is not uploading. Please note that the size of the file should be less than 200 KB. So when you scan it using whatever app you are doing, you try to compress it. If you are not able to compress, you can open it in maybe the respective whatever you have in Microsoft Photo Viewer. Using that, you can actually compress it. So once you compress that, it will be uploaded. It has to be less than 200 KB. If you want, now next question is, if I want to write exam in July, there is nothing to be done. Only if you want to change the center. If you want to change the center, you have an option to change the center. So what you can do is, after if you have decided not to, decided to write, that means, and if you want to change the center, you can do that. There is no other process required. Now, what about the students who need to travel from one place to another, travel between states to write the examination? Now, for those of you who want to travel from one place to another, what I suggest is, or if you want to travel from one state to another state, what you need to do is, you need to change the center and bring it into your own state. And if at all you don't have a center at your hometown and you do not want to travel to another city to write the examination, then I suggest you opt out of the examination and take it in the next examination cycle. Next question is, I had applied for both the groups. Now can I opt out for one group and can I write one group? See, you can remain absent from one group of one group in the examination, but you cannot opt out formally from one and write the second group. So that is not allowed. If you have filled for both the groups and if you want to only write one group, you can obviously write one group. There is no problem at all. Yes, there is a question that will it be counted as an extra attempt and all those things. I think during this session, season, or because of this flu coming up, you would be in a position to justify anybody why you have cancelled that particular attempt. So don't worry about that. Indigo Learn not putting any new videos. We have been updating videos frequently. Recently, we updated one on income tax amendments. EIS, yes, we'll talk to the faculty and get some more YouTube live. Okay. Is opt-out needed for August exams? No. If you want to write, no opt-out is needed. Okay. Pratik, funny question. Exam center pe khasi aane lage. So if you cough in the examination, will they allow you to write examination? I think you have to take care of your health primarily. So it's only for now. It's only fever checking. But if you show some symptoms, or if examinee shows some symptom, they may be not allowed to write the examination. If I opt out of July exams, does Feb budget apply to November exams? Please note that May and November follow a single budget. So there is no question of change in budget or change in income tax amendments. Okay. Small postponement, Sonu, being very frank, none of us know. It purely depends on the situation, the Ministry of Home Affairs or central government guidelines. So we don't have a clarity as to will it be postponed by a week or will it happen as on date. We actually don't know, right? So maybe by first or second week of July we'll have more clarity on this for everyone. So the November examination will tentatively begin from first week of December, which is still aggressive. So if you ask me, if exams are over by August, another 1.5 months time for results. So holding examination in first week of December is still a tight situation, but it's for all, not for just one. Sir, is it safe to appear in this pandemic? So one thing I would like to share here. I also keep going out for getting some stuff for home or going to office for some specific purpose. As I go out on road, I see that 70% of people are back onto road. They are, the shops have opened, the vehicles are running. There is a lot of traffic jam, right? 30% are obviously students and other people who are working from home are still working from home. But by and large, people have accepted that we have to be safe and life will move on. So that they have accepted this as a part of the day-to-day routine, right? Now, is it safe to appear? It purely depends on the circumstances where you stay, the residence area where you stay, the examination center, right? And situation closer to the examination date, right? So we can't say it's safe or it's not safe. For example, Kerala had conducted examination for a lot of their students. They have conducted it successfully. No untoward incident happened. So for that, I think you have to take a call, taking into consideration your circumstance. I will not say you go and write, and I can't even say you don't go and write, because there are a lot of students who want to write, right? So for them, examinations are being done. Extension fee, will come to it in a couple of days' time. Yes, most cases. So this is a very valid point again, Chandan. There is a lot of cases are asymptomatic. Even if you check temperature and if they are not showing symptoms of fever, still then there could be a case that there is a asymptomatic carrier, right? Change in income tax for November, very little, right? That will be again coming out with an update. So there's a specific question. I'm from Chittoor and Tirupati is 70 kilometers. I have opted for Vellore, which is my center. Now, as Institute say, if Tirupati become a containment zone. So now if Tirupati becomes a containment zone, if you have examination center at Tirupati, you will be taken forward, right? See, traveling from one district to another district, just take a situation or analyze the situation at your district. How is it? How are the people moving? Is it safe enough to go to the other district? Depending on the district you are choosing and the time of the examination, I will strongly suggest, if possible, write the examination if the center fall in your own district. Don't try to venture out to other districts or venture out to other states. I need to change my center from Gurgaon to Kathmandu and want to see Srishti. If you want to opt out, then there is no question of changing in the examination center. So if you feel that you cannot write the examination and you want to opt out, you have to opt out fully. You can't go to Kathmandu and write. And second thing, the fees for Kathmandu are different from the fees of Gurgaon. So we need to check with the institute whether such international changes of location would be allowed. And I don't see international flight resuming anytime soon. So November, okay, so one more thing, November examination will be a fresh attempt. November examination will be a fresh attempt. It will not be a, at the centers, the groups, you have to apply for fresh. Institute will handle, whatever the postponements or cancellation has to happen, they will handle it on their own. Please note that even in earlier times, there were flood situation, there were paper leakages happening. Because of all these reasons, center specific exams have been cancelled. I'm repeating it one last time. For people who do not want to, who want to write the exams, you don't have to do anything. Only if you want to change this, center, you can change the center. So if your exam center is far away, like 50 kilometers, 70 kilometers, 100 kilometers, please, take a thought and better to opt out and write in the next cycle when it is a better situation. Okay. So if don't, I would not suggest, because see, examination is 3 hours. If you have to travel 60 kilometers, going and coming back will take another 3 hours. You have to be at the examination center 1 to 2 hours, 1 hour at least before the examination. There would be issues at border and check post and all those things. So almost an entire day would go off in writing one examination. So I suggest that, people who are traveling far off places to write the examination, you may think of postponing the, attempt. Yeah, if you opt out of May exams, the final old course will be extended up to May 21. This is very clearly given in the FAQ, right? So I think a lot of questions have been addressed. I don't want to take any further of your time, and a few more questions that come up. I didn't opt out and can't write the exam because of containment zone. Yes, it will be extended. If you don't choose opt out, and if you appear in the examination, your attempt will be counted. That is, it will be counted as an attempt. If because of unforeseen circumstances, you could not write, then you may say that, that attempt, you have actually dropped that attempt. So that's not a problem. Right? So now the question is fever. If fever is not because of corona, it is allowed, but then it is very difficult to establish whether it is due to corona or not due to corona. So as I told you, I find this to be slightly illogical when they come up and say that fever other than corona, they have to get a medical certificate. It's very difficult. Last attempt for old syllabus is November 20. Okay. Yeah, they will allow fever due to stress, but then how will you prove that it's not because of corona? Any further possibility of postponement? I do not, so I can't comment, as I told you earlier. So to put it very simply, for those of you who have made up your mind to write the examination in November, please feel please feel free to opt it out. And then for those of you who want to write, who want to take a chance, please prepare well. If situation deteriorates, then you can start, you can choose opt out at a later date. Virtual classes, Bhanu, please inquire with the ICAI. They'll let you know whether it's in English or in Hindi. Mostly it would be in English only. Individual open modules, we are launching it next week. So Shrishti, one thing is, if you want to write examination in Kathmandu in November, you have to apply afresh. So what you need to do is you opt out now. There is no point of changing center. You cannot change center now. When the November exam forms open, at that point of time, you can fill your forms and you can write the examination. Yes, there could be change of center by ICAI due to containment zone. So that is there. Okay. Chalo, so thanks for joining in. If you have any further doubts, you can put it out at our app on the forum. Right? We have put out a summary of FAQs as news and update. You can check that out as well. Stay safe and take care.